Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's shocking and unforgettable story, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. It's amazing to see how far our Unheard Stories community reaches. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next jaw-dropping tale. Now imagine this. A seemingly perfect marriage, a devoted husband, and a loving family. But hidden behind closed doors lies a betrayal so unexpected that it leaves you questioning everything. What would you do if you uncovered a secret that shattered your entire world? Tom thought he had it all. An organized life, a loving wife, Lisa, and 2 wonderful kids. They were a family built on trust, or so he believed. One day, Lisa announced she was taking the kids on a short trip to the beach, something she had planned meticulously. Tom, swamped with work, decided to stay behind. He looked forward to a quiet house and the chance to catch up on projects. That first evening, as Tom relaxed in the rare silence, his neighbor Mike dropped by unexpectedly. Mike was the kind of person who always had advice to give, whether you wanted it or not. This time, it was about home security. "You should install cameras," Mike said, his voice low and serious. "You can't be too careful these days." At first, Tom dismissed the idea. Their neighborhood was quiet, the kind of place where everyone knew each other. But Mike's words lingered. He spoke about friends who had regretted not taking precautions and how cameras gave peace of mind. "You never know who might come around when you're not looking," Mike added cryptically. Tom couldn't shake the thought. Later that evening, he found himself browsing for security cameras online. It wasn't just Mike's insistence. It was the idea of being able to keep an eye on things that finally sold him. When the cameras arrived, Tom spent hours installing them, carefully positioning each one to cover key areas of the house. He felt a sense of satisfaction, believing he was protecting his home and family. Little did he know, those cameras would uncover a secret that would change everything. With Lisa and the kids away, the house felt eerily quiet, but in a way, Tom welcomed it. He hadn't had the place to himself in years, and as much as he adored his family, the idea of a few peaceful days was a reward in itself. Tom was a hardworking man, deeply dedicated to his job, and often found himself juggling work with family responsibilities. The silence gave him a rare chance to catch up on both his professional tasks and a few personal projects he had been putting off. Lisa had gone above and beyond to plan the beach trip for their kids. She talked about it for weeks, mapping out activities to make it unforgettable. From packing snacks to booking a cozy spot by the shore, her attention to detail was impeccable. Tom admired her for it. "Just relax and enjoy yourself," she had told him before leaving, planting a kiss on his cheek. "We'll be back before you even miss us." Tom smiled as he watched them drive away. He had no reason to doubt her words. Their marriage, though not without its ups and downs, had always felt steady and secure. Back at home, Tom fell into a comfortable routine. Mornings were spent answering emails and attending virtual meetings, afternoons on home repairs he'd been meaning to get to, and evenings with a good book or a classic movie. He had a moment of nostalgia one evening as he flipped through family photos. Lisa and the kids had left only a day ago, yet he found himself missing their presence. He decided he'd plan something special for when they returned, a quiet dinner or a family outing. The only break in Tom's solitude came when his neighbor Mike stopped by. Mike's advice about cameras had stayed in the back of Tom's mind. While he didn't think much of it initially, the way Mike had spoken, his insistence that you can't be too careful, left Tom feeling slightly uneasy. Why not? Tom thought to himself. Even if nothing ever happened, it wouldn't hurt to add a little extra security. So, Tom set the wheels in motion, unknowingly taking the first step toward a discovery that would turn his life upside down. Mike's words lingered in Tom's mind long after their conversation. The idea of installing cameras wasn't something he had ever considered, but the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. He reasoned it wasn't just about security, it was about peace of mind, especially while the family was away. That night, Tom spent hours researching home security cameras. He wanted something efficient, easy to install, and discreet. Finally, he chose a model that allowed live monitoring through his phone, giving him real-time updates no matter where he was. When the cameras arrived, Tom eagerly got to work. It became a project he dove into with unexpected enthusiasm. He carefully positioned the cameras to cover key areas of the house: entrances, the garage, the living room, and even the hallway leading to the bedrooms. Each camera angle was meticulously adjusted for maximum coverage. Tom tested the app to ensure the footage was clear and that he could access it without any issues. The entire process took him the better part of an afternoon, but by the end, he felt a sense of accomplishment. This will keep everything in check, he thought, stepping back to admire his work. In his excitement, Tom overlooked one critical detail. He hadn't told Lisa about the cameras. It wasn't a deliberate choice. It simply hadn't crossed his mind. After all, he thought of it as a harmless addition, a precautionary measure. But as he tested the system, a small voice in the back of his head questioned whether Lisa would appreciate the surveillance. He brushed it off, reasoning that the cameras were for everyone's safety. Over the next few days, Tom checked the cameras sporadically. The live feed gave him a strange sense of reassurance, even though there was nothing unusual to see. He felt like he had taken a proactive step toward protecting his home and family. Little did Tom know, those cameras would soon reveal more than he had bargained for. When Lisa and the kids came back from their trip, the house seemed to come alive again. The kids' laughter filled the halls, and Lisa's presence brought warmth that Tom hadn't realized he missed. Life resumed its usual rhythm, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. But it wouldn't stay that way for long. It was a quiet Tuesday morning. Tom was at work, reviewing emails and sipping his coffee, when a random thought popped into his mind. The cameras. Since installing them, he hadn't looked at the footage much. Life had been busy since Lisa and the kids returned, and the cameras had been largely forgotten. Curious, Tom opened the monitoring app on his phone. He wasn't expecting to find anything unusual. Maybe a delivery person dropping off a package or a squirrel scampering near the porch. But what he saw made him pause. On the screen, the footage showed a man entering the house. The timestamp indicated it was mid-morning, a time when the kids were at school and Lisa was supposed to be home. Tom's first reaction was confusion. He tried to remember if Lisa had mentioned a visitor, a maintenance worker, a friend stopping by, but nothing came to mind. The man didn't look like a technician or delivery person. He wasn't carrying tools or packages, and his casual demeanor made Tom's stomach churn. The stranger moved through the house with a familiarity that didn't sit right. Tom replayed the footage, studying every movement. The man walked through the living room, glanced toward the kitchen, and disappeared into a hallway. There was no sign of urgency or hesitation in his steps, as though he knew exactly where he was going. Maybe it's nothing, Tom told himself. It could be someone Lisa knows. Maybe a family friend or a neighbor, but the doubt lingered. Who was this man? And why hadn't Lisa mentioned him? That evening, Tom acted as though everything was normal. Lisa was her usual cheerful self, chatting about the kids' day and laughing as they prepared dinner together. But Tom's mind was elsewhere. He wanted to ask her about the man but hesitated. What if it was innocent and he ended up sounding paranoid? He decided to let it go for now, telling himself it was probably just a misunderstanding. Yet, the unease refused to leave. 2 days later, curiosity got the better of Tom. During his lunch break, he opened the app again to review more footage. His heart sank as he watched another recording from that morning. The same man. The same calm, confident movements. This time, the man stayed longer, moving through different rooms before leaving. This was no coincidence. Tom couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The stranger's familiarity with the house, the way he seemed perfectly at ease, it all pointed to a possibility Tom didn't want to face. He decided he needed to know more. That evening, while Lisa and the kids slept, he quietly installed additional cameras. One in the living room, another in the hallway, and, with a heavy heart, one in their bedroom. If something was happening, he was going to find out. Tom couldn't shake the gnawing unease that had taken hold of him. The new cameras were in place, and every evening after Lisa and the kids went to bed, he found himself combing through the footage. He told himself he was being overly cautious, but deep down, he knew he was bracing for something more. One morning, with the house empty, Tom decided to review the latest recordings. As he skimmed through hours of mundane footage, his heart skipped a beat when he saw the stranger again. This time, the man's movements were more deliberate. He wasn't just wandering, he was making himself at home. Tom's breath caught as the footage shifted to their bedroom camera. His stomach churned when the man walked in, followed moments later by Lisa. The two exchanged a glance, and what happened next made Tom's blood run cold. They were intimate, in his home, in his bed. Tom's eyes locked on the screen, disbelief washing over him like a cold wave. He replayed the footage again and again, hoping he was mistaken, praying there was some other explanation. But the truth was undeniable. For a moment, the world seemed to spin. The betrayal cut deeper than he could have imagined. This wasn't just an act of infidelity. It was a violation of everything they had built together, every promise they had made. The room felt suffocating as Tom tried to process what he had seen. Images of their life together. Family trips, quiet evenings, shared laughter, flashed through his mind, now tainted by the realization of Lisa's betrayal. Despite the whirlwind of emotions, anger, pain, disbelief, Tom knew he couldn't react impulsively. He needed to confront her, but he also needed to keep his composure. This wasn't just about the act itself. It was about the trust that had been shattered. That evening, Tom pretended everything was normal. He greeted Lisa with a smile, listened to her talk about her day, and tucked the kids into bed. But behind his calm exterior was a storm brewing. Once Lisa had gone to bed, Tom watched the footage again, this time preparing himself for the inevitable confrontation. He saved the most damning clips, ensuring he had everything he needed to face her. He felt a mix of dread and determination. This wasn't just about catching her in a lie. It was about reclaiming control of his life. Tom barely slept that night, his mind racing with questions and emotions. By morning, he knew he couldn't wait any longer. The truth was out, and it was time for Lisa to face it. The following morning, Tom waited for the right moment. After the kids left for school, he found Lisa in the living room, humming softly as she tidied up. She looked so calm, so normal, that it almost made him hesitate. But then, the image of the stranger in their bed flashed in his mind, and his resolve hardened. "Lisa, we need to talk," Tom said, his voice steady but cold. Lisa looked up, her expression shifting to one of mild concern. "What is it?" she asked, setting a book down on the coffee table. Without a word, Tom pulled out his phone and opened the footage. He handed it to her, the screen displaying the undeniable evidence of her betrayal. Lisa's face paled as she stared at the screen. Her mouth opened as though to speak, but no words came out. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating, until she finally managed to stammer. I can explain," she said, her voice trembling. Tom folded his arms, his gaze unflinching. "Go ahead," he said, though his tone made it clear that no explanation would be enough. Tears began streaming down Lisa's face as she tried to piece together a justification. "It was a mistake," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It didn't mean anything." Her voice cracked as she pleaded, her hands shaking. "Tom, you have to believe me. It was a moment of weakness. I love you. I love our family. Please, don't throw everything away over this." Tom's expression remained impassive, but inside, he was a maelstrom of emotions. Her words sounded hollow, her tears insincere. Every apology felt like a slap in the face, a reminder of how deeply she had betrayed him. When Lisa finally fell silent, Tom spoke, his voice low but firm. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed our family, our home, everything we built together. Do you even understand what you've done?" Lisa broke down, collapsing onto the couch and burying her face in her hands. "It didn't mean anything," she repeated desperately. "Please, Tom, we can fix this. Don't give up on us." But Tom shook his head, his heart heavy but resolute. "You made your choice, Lisa, and now I'm making mine. There's no coming back from this." As Lisa sobbed uncontrollably, Tom stood and left the room. He didn't yell, didn't argue, he didn't need to. The footage had spoken for itself, and there was no repairing the damage that had been done. The rest of the day passed in a haze of tension and silence. Lisa tried repeatedly to talk to Tom, but he kept his distance, knowing that the trust they once shared was irreparably broken. By the time evening came, Tom had made his decision. Divorce was the only path forward. As the reality of Lisa's betrayal settled in, Tom found himself consumed by one question. Who was the man? The stranger who had walked so confidently through his home had shattered Tom's life, and he needed to know the truth. Determined, Tom began piecing together what he could. He saved clear screenshots of the man's face from the footage and started discreetly asking around. It wasn't long before a name surfaced. Daniel Carter. Daniel wasn't just anyone. He was a well-known gynecologist in the city, a man respected for his professionalism and charm. But beneath his polished image lay a very different story. Tom discovered that Daniel was married with children of his own, living a life that mirrored the facade Lisa and Tom had once shared. The absurdity of the situation hit Tom like a brick. Here was a man whose career revolved around trust and care, violating the very principles that his life was built on. Not only had Daniel betrayed his own family, but he had also trampled on Tom's, all while maintaining an air of respectability in the community. Tom's anger burned hotter with every revelation. It wasn't just personal anymore. It felt like an injustice that needed to be exposed. Tom wrestled with his options. Part of him wanted to move on, to leave Lisa and her lover behind and start fresh. But another part, the part that refused to let injustice go unanswered, couldn't let Daniel escape unscathed. After days of deliberation, Tom made his decision. He would reveal the truth, not just to Lisa or Daniel, but to the people who trusted Daniel the most. His family, his patients, and the community that held him in high regard. Tom meticulously prepared the evidence. He compiled the clearest video clips that showed Daniel entering the house and the devastating footage of him and Lisa together. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about ensuring that Daniel's actions couldn't be swept under the rug. Tom knew this decision would cause collateral damage. Daniel's wife and children, innocent in all of this, would be hurt. But Tom also knew that the truth had to come out no matter the cost. Late one night, Tom uploaded the footage anonymously to a local online forum, a place where news spread quickly. He added no captions, no explanations, just the raw evidence of what had happened. The video quickly gained traction. Comments flooded in, and it wasn't long before Daniel's name was attached to the footage. By the next day, Daniel's life began to unravel. Patients canceled appointments, colleagues distanced themselves, and his carefully crafted image crumbled under the weight of public scrutiny. Tom watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling a bittersweet mix of relief and sadness. He hadn't set out to destroy Daniel's life, but justice had been served. The release of the footage caused an immediate and devastating ripple effect. Within hours, Daniel's pristine reputation began to crumble. Patients started canceling their appointments, unwilling to trust a man who had so blatantly betrayed his own family. Colleagues distanced themselves, uncomfortable with the scandal that now surrounded him. By the end of the week, Daniel was dismissed from the clinics where he worked. His name, once synonymous with professionalism, became a byword for dishonor. Even those who had admired him couldn't defend his actions. At home, things were even worse. When Daniel's wife saw the footage, she was furious and heartbroken. She packed up her belongings, took their children, and left him without looking back. Daniel was left alone to face the wreckage of his double life. Back at Tom's home, Lisa's despair deepened as she watched the fallout unfold. She tried desperately to reach out to Tom, begging for forgiveness. Her words were filled with regret, apologies, and promises to make things right. "It was a mistake, Tom," she pleaded one evening, her voice trembling. "I was weak, and I let everything we had slip away. Please, don't let this destroy us." But for Tom, there was no going back. The betrayal was too deep, the trust too thoroughly shattered. Every word Lisa spoke only served as a painful reminder of the life they had lost. "I can't," Tom said quietly, his voice resolute. "You made your choice, Lisa, and now I've made mine." Despite the justice he had served, Tom felt the emotional toll of the situation. Exposing Daniel and confronting Lisa had brought some closure, but it hadn't erased the pain. The life he had built, the future he had envisioned, was gone. For days, Tom wrestled with his emotions. He felt relief at seeing the truth come to light, anger at the betrayal, and sadness for the family he had lost. But as the dust began to settle, something unexpected emerged. A sense of peace. Tom started focusing on himself for the first time in years. He reconnected with old friends, rediscovered hobbies he had long neglected, and began taking small steps toward rebuilding his life. Walks in the park, morning coffee on the porch, and quiet evenings with a book became moments of solace. These simple pleasures reminded him that life, despite its hardships, could still hold beauty and meaning. Tom reflected on everything he had learned through the ordeal. Trust, he realized, was a fragile but invaluable gift. Once broken, it was nearly impossible to repair. But more importantly, he discovered the strength within himself to face the truth and move forward. To anyone facing betrayal, Tom had one piece of advice. The truth, no matter how painful, is the only path to freedom. Face it head-on, and don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. You deserve better. As Tom looked ahead, he saw a blank page, a chance to start anew. The weight of betrayal still lingered, but it no longer defined him. Instead, it became part of his story, a chapter that shaped him but didn't break him. In the end, he realized that revenge wasn't about destroying someone else's life. It was about reclaiming your own. Thank you for watching this incredible story unfold. Betrayal is never easy to confront, but stories like Tom's remind us of the strength it takes to face the truth and rebuild a life from the ashes. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in Tom's situation? Could you have handled it differently? Or does his story resonate with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories and insights can inspire others who may be going through something similar. If you found this story captivating, don't forget to support the channel. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll never miss another gripping tale from Unheard Stories. This is just one of many incredible stories we share here at Unheard Stories. From shocking betrayals to acts of resilience, each tale is a reminder of the strength it takes to overcome life's toughest challenges. See you in the next story. Until then, take care and remember, you are stronger than you think.